It's Thursday, November 20th. In the headlines, government establishes National Reconstruction Resilient Authority to lead post-Melissa rebuilding. In business news, Jamaica's GDP expected to fall. Regionally, Grenada pledges funds to Jamaica. And in sports, ISA to stage tryouts for high school footballers. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Simone Absalom Gale. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says it could take up to 6 months to fully restore electricity across Jamaica after Hurricane Melissa. But he says the government is pushing to cut that timeline as thousands in the worst-hit western parishes remain without power more than 3 weeks later. Brittany Walker tells us more.
St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Hanover, and St. James are among the parishes still struggling to recover after Melissa's destructive passage. Speaking at a hurricane recovery press conference at Jamaica House, Prime Minister Holness said the current projections for full electricity restoration are far from ideal.
We're going to give the generators and other such items that build resilience, we're going to give them to our police stations that now don't have. So out of this, what we intend to do is to ensure that every police station that is built or under construction now or that currently exists, we're going to make sure that they have a generator. But it's not just giving them. They will have to provide us with a system of maintaining it so that when this generator goes, it is replaced. So that we can now say, when we are hit by another disaster, our police stations have backup capabilities. If you go into any of the communities that have been badly hit, where are people gathering to get their phones charged and to get communications? They are going to either the police station, the municipal office, the fire brigade. So we're going to provide as many of these generators, providing they meet the required specs to these operations, to the emergency services and the critical services. And that's what we've been doing. I personally have given to 3 police stations. And the people there are very happy to have it because that's where they go to get some electricity to charge their phone and have safety in making their calls. And I know that the same thing has been done with the Starlinks that we have gotten, that they have been used to give to hospitals, the police station, the fire brigade, and so forth. So that's how we are using it. And that's the smartest and best way to use it to ensure that the average person benefits from these donations.
Dr. Holness says the issue is manpower. JPS has already brought in 600 overseas line workers, but the utility company wants to increase that number to 900 to speed up repairs.
Currently, JPS has 600 linesmen and with their equipment in the island. Some of those linesmen will leave shortly. On the general trajectory, it could be as long as 6 months before electricity is returned to every community in Jamaica. Thankfully, we are at 70% now. By the 15th of December, we may very well be at, maybe 75% or more. But that last mile in the particularly devastated area, that is going to take a lot of time. So there are 2 things that you trade off. It's time and resources. So if you use less resources, it takes a longer time. If you use more resources, it may take a shorter time. So we are working with JPS to bring in more resources so that it takes a shorter time. We are of the view, based upon JPS's assessment, I will leave them to give you the details, that they could shave 2 to 3 months of total recovery if they have the resources up front to deal with the recovery. So they want to have 900 linesmen, which would mean bringing in an additional 300 linesmen. And so the government is working with them to see that we can get this done so that we can get electricity back much faster than is projected.
Dr. Holness says the government is now in discussions with the JPS to bring in the additional 300 workers needed to accelerate restoration, critical for getting water systems and communities back to normal. Power has so far been restored to 70% of JPS customers. The goal is to push that figure to 75% or more by December. The Prime Minister says restoring electricity remains one of the government's top recovery priorities as crews continue the difficult work across the island's hardest hit regions.
Immediately after the disaster, I believe we were at about 23% of the island having electricity. Today, we are at 70%. 70% of Jamaica is with electricity, and that is increasing every day. The lessons learned from Beryl have paid off, and the JPS is working assiduously to bring electricity back to areas that have been affected. We gave JPS a challenge, and the challenge was that they should get Montego Bay, the second city, the second main commercial hub of the island, up and running by December 15th. That's the challenge. And I'm pleased to say that the hip strip has electricity. I gather that there was quite a crowd watching on big screen the football match last night. I believe it was in the Montego Bay proper, probably in the square that they were watching it. So electricity, I gather, is there, and almost every day communities within Montego Bay proper and surrounding are getting electricity. So the intention is that by the 15th of December, the tourism hub of Jamaica, Montego Bay, should be electrified. So by the 15th, December the 15th, we should expect that the Elegant Corridor should get full electricity. That's the challenge, and they are working assiduously towards this, and I am giving them as much support as I can to ensure that this.
With just 31% of Jamaica Public Service customers still without electricity, the Ministry of Health and Wellness is reminding the public of the following precautions to take when using a generator. Do not use them indoors or in enclosed areas. Keep generators in a dry area. Water will damage generators as well as produce electrical hazard. A generator should be kept at a safe distance from structures because of the engine heat. Avoid using appliances that have a heating element, for example, toaster or hairdryer. Select the outlet that uses the correct voltage, as some generators can produce 115 to 120 volts or 220 volts. The government has launched a new oversight body to drive the country's recovery after Hurricane Melissa. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness announced the establishment of the National Reconstruction Resilient Authority, the NRRA, during a press conference on Wednesday. He says the authority will operate under the Office of the Prime Minister and will have special powers to lead, coordinate, and fast-track national rebuilding efforts.
The NARA will focus on building back better, safer homes, climate-resilient infrastructure, better land use planning, relocation from high-risk zones, and taking the opportunity to introduce new industries and new businesses to areas that previously had no economic base.
He adds that the agency will also explore opportunities to introduce new industries in communities that previously had no economic base. The Prime Minister says the authority will be created through special purpose legislation and will operate for 5 years.
Given the extraordinary powers that will be sought to expedite reconstruction, the NARA will be set up with a sunset date of 5 years, renewable by Parliament. So we're not seeking to have this established forever. It is a time-bound exercise, and it has to be time-bound so that we can actually meet the recovery and reconstruction date. If you leave it unbounded, people will believe that they have forever to achieve the targets.
Dr. Holness says funding for the NRRA's operations will come through the national budget, while the initial reconstruction push will draw from the National Natural Disaster Recovery Fund.
The NNDRF was set up to receive the proceeds of Jamaica's disaster risk instruments, including Jamaica's catastrophe bond, policies with the Caribbean Catastrophe Reinsurance Facilities, CRIF, and various credit contingent claims with the IDB and the World Bank.
Container and modular homes have received a lukewarm response in the local market. But as the need arises for swift housing solutions for those still without a roof in the West, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness is endorsing container homes as a means of providing cost-effective and safe housing options for victims of Hurricane Melissa. Denita Rodney takes us through Dr. Holness's proposition on how the government intends to utilize those types of homes.
The idea might not be the norm in Jamaican society. However, both container and modular homes offer numerous advantages over traditional construction, primarily in affordability, speed of construction, durability, sustainability, and design flexibility. For your information, container homes are made from repurposed steel shipping containers that are modified and insulated to create functional living spaces. Modular homes are prefabricated homes built in sections in factories and assembled on a permanent foundation. Dr. Holness says, after careful assessment, the government is satisfied that these are appropriate to fill the existing gaps.
We have examined pre-built containerized modular solutions, and we have settled in our minds that this is appropriate for the Jamaican situation that we now have. There are different types, different versions, and so I've met with the NHD, and the NHD has provided us with a solution that they are presently working on.
He says the plan is to have NHD purchase 5,000 container homes in the initial phase.
So with a program with the NHD, you will be able to purchase. Some of them will be used to build housing schemes, which you can purchase, and a portion of them will be made available through social housing. The government itself will also be purchasing some of these containerized housing solutions, which will be made available through the social housing modality.
He says the procurement process will begin soon, with the real-time impact expected by early next year.
We have taken the policy decision that these can be used, and so the process of acquiring them through the procurement process, they have been given the approval to move ahead with that. So that should start in short order. We are not going to get them here for Christmas. I just have to be frank with everybody. But we should start to see some coming in by late January.
Dr. Holness says in the short term, the authorities will have to try to work on the shelter repair kits, the heavy-duty tarpaulins, and other short-term solutions.
Time now for the business report with Denise Williams.
Welcome to today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, here to bring you the stories shaping the financial world and guiding your journey to smarter business decisions. Let's dive into the top headlines. Bank of Jamaica's Financial Policy Committee, FPC, is anticipating that the country will experience a significant impact on its gross domestic product following the passage of Hurricane Melissa on October 28, 2025. Regarding non-performing loans, the FPC believes that while credit quality will deteriorate, deposit-taking institutions are well capitalized and have made provisions to absorb the shock of delinquency. The committee pointed to Jamaica's low level of non-performing loans for justification. At the same time, the FPC believes that insurance claims are likely to increase, arising from the damage and destruction suffered from Hurricane Melissa. However, given the strong reinsurance coverage and low property insurance penetration in some of the parishes impacted, insurance providers will not have to deal with the challenge of insurance insolvency. The state-owned refinery Motorists will pay more for gas as of Thursday. The state-owned oil refinery Petrojam says that E1087 is to move up by $3.06 to sell for $155.42 per liter. And a liter of E1090 will go up by $3.06 to sell for $162.03. Automotive diesel oil will move by $4.50 and per liter to sell for $168.75. Ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $174.75 per liter, following an increase of $4.50. The price of kerosene will go up by $2.94, with that fuel to sell for $153.14. Meantime, propane cooking gas will go down by 25 cents to sell for $73.72, while butane will move up by 0.05 cents to sell for $82.43 per liter. Retailers will add their markups to the announced prices. For the trading period ending November 19, 2025, these were the most actively traded stocks. Trans-Jamaica Highway Limited with 4,613,689 units, representing 24.11% of market sales volume. Jamaica Fiberglass Producers Limited with 2,973,768 units, representing 15.54% of total sales volume. Lasco Financial Services Limited with 2,199,718 units, representing 11.5% of total sales volume. We now shift our focus to the Forex market rate set by the Bank of Jamaica. On November 19, 2025, the Bank of Jamaica reported US $92.72 million purchased and US $83.81 million sold by Forex traders. Forex traders earned $1.24 per dollar, selling the US at $159.98 and buying the US at $161.22. The Canadian dollar netted Forex traders $1.29 per transaction, with selling at $114.83 and buying at $113.54. The British pound yielded Forex traders $2.70 in profits, with selling at $207.91 and buying at $210.61. For our credit report tip of the day, when a disaster destroys a business and the owner has no documents to prove they were operating, the credit report becomes a tool that moves everything forward. It confirms identity, shows address history, and outlines financial behavior that relief agencies and lenders can immediately rely on. That single report can trigger action, emergency loans, raise limits, payment breaks, microgrants, and real support from banks and agencies that would otherwise turn them away. It shows their financial footprint when their entire physical world has disappeared. The report highlights patterns of spending, whether tools, inventory, equipment, that signal the owner was actively running a business. With this evidence, lenders can take action by approving emergency funding, raising credit limits, or offering payment relief. Relief agencies can use the report to justify assistance for someone who has no lease or registration but clearly has a financial footprint. The credit report also helps the owner restart faster. It gives them leverage to negotiate with banks, reopen accounts, secure personal loans, reconnect with suppliers, and access short-term capital. As they stabilize, that same credit history becomes the foundation for registering the business, gaining vendor terms, and stepping into formal operations. When every physical document is gone, the credit report becomes the first proof of economic life and the fastest pathway to rebuild their income. And that wraps up today's business report. I'm Denise Williams, reminding you that every financial decision is a step toward your future. Until next time, stay focused, stay informed, and keep striving for success. See you soon.
In regional news, Grenada is stepping up to support Jamaica's Hurricane Melissa recovery, with Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell announcing a $500,000 cash contribution to aid reconstruction. Speaking on his program DMs with PM, Prime Minister Mitchell said Grenada is also exploring additional assistance through regional partners, including electrical and water specialists, to help restore critical services. The details from GBN News.
As Jamaica begins the difficult process of recovery following Hurricane Melissa, the government of Grenada has pledged financial support. Prime Minister Deacon Mitchell, speaking on his program, DMs with the PM, on Tuesday, announced that government will provide $500,000 to assist reconstruction efforts.
So the government is going to make a cash contribution of $500,000 to the government and people of Jamaica, and then we will work with our regional partners to see how we can support initiatives like getting electricity crews back on the island, or persons who have expertise in things like water. Construction obviously is going to be a major issue. Housing is the big challenge, without doubt, for the Jamaican people, and that will take some time. But in the meantime, people have to be in shelters or temporary accommodation, and that is still going to be a significant challenge because obviously it's some of the more rural areas that were impacted.
Prime Minister Mitchell, who toured the most affected areas on Monday alongside other CARICOM leaders, described the devastation as severe. He added that initial restoration efforts are already on the way, with teams working to restore essential utility services in the hardest hit communities.
Montego Bay, when we were there, we were already seeing the crews out. They're restoring power as fast as they can. Obviously, the tourism industry in the Montego Bay area is shut down as a result. All of the hotels were evacuated and the hotels sustained damage. But I think the government is seeking to try and, as much as possible, focus on areas where commerce can return so that people can get a livelihood, people can get jobs, and that could obviously help spur economic activity to help spur the rebuilding.
The Prime Minister also praised the resilience of the Jamaican people, noting that despite the daily challenges, they have shown remarkable strength in the face of adversity.
It's going to be a long and difficult climb. We experience it ourselves. No electricity, no water, no housing. But the spirit of the Jamaicans are resilient despite the tragedy. We found the general mood of the population in the affected areas to be upbeat and spirited. We witnessed firsthand the devastation and the sheer scale of the devastation. The Prime Minister indicated that approximately 900,000 Jamaicans are displaced as a result of Hurricane Melissa. So it is Carriacou and PT Martinique all over again, but on a much, much larger scale. And it's mainly 5 parishes that have faced the brunt of the intense destruction. So we wanted to see firsthand what the scale of the damage was and to get a better understanding of what assistance we in CARICOM can provide to our brothers and sisters in Jamaica and how we can help to continue lobbying the international community to provide support to our brothers and sisters.
Grenada's contribution underscores regional solidarity and a shared commitment to helping neighboring countries rebuild in the aftermath of disasters. Rena Pierre-Thomas, GBN News.
In the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, a timely donation of medical equipment valued at $30,000 has brought hope to Jamaica's Bustamante Children's Hospital, facilitated by Trinidad and Tobago-based Caribbean Health Access. Its managing director, Matthew Sammy, says the contribution demonstrates the power of regional solidarity in times of crisis. TTT News' Sinin Lala tells us more.
Scenes like this were witnessed after Hurricane Melissa wreaked havoc on Jamaica in late October. Support for the island came fast and furious, including from Caribbean Health Access Consultants, CHA, even weeks before the hurricane passed through. Managing Director of CHA, Matthew Sammy, says earlier this year they signed a joint communique with Jamaica's Ministry of Health, pledging support in clinical training, AI diagnostics, and hospital planning.
So for the past couple of years, we have been collaborating with the government of Jamaica, giving them support in terms of both adult and pediatric cases that weren't able to be treated at the facility. So we've always maintained great relationship with the chief medical officer, the senior medical officers, as well as the specialists at Bustamante Children's Hospital.
Then came Hurricane Melissa. Mr. Sammy says the timing of the delivery was critical,
where, we agreed to give them support in terms of clinical competency, artificial intelligence in their diagnostics, hospital planning, as well as development. And we did a tour of the Bustamante facility with the chairman, Mr. Kenny Benjamin, as well as Mr. Anthony Woods and Dr. Dawson Richards of the hospital, where, we saw where there was a need for some improvements.
Bustamante now handles up to 85% of Jamaica's pediatric cases. Mr. Sammy says the donation, though modest compared to the need, is making a difference.
Where it was in New Kingston, it was delivered the week right after the hurricane. So on that same day, I got a call from the CEO, Mr. Woods, who, along with Mr. Kenny Benjamin, who, they conveyed, the sincere thanks and the fact that with the devastation of Hurricane Melissa in Jamaica, a lot more of the pediatric cases are actually being brought into the Bustamante Hospital.
Caribbean Health Access sees this as more than disaster relief, but part of a long-term vision for regional healthcare.
Some of the areas that were impacted were impassable, and they actually had to airlift a lot of the patients into Kingston for treatment. So, it is timely, that this medical equipment, can be utilized to lend us much support. I mean, by no means $30,000 is any great measure when you talk about the sheer size of the population. However, we were grateful that our contribution, was meaningful.
Caribbean Health Access says it is planning similar initiatives across the region, reaffirming its commitment to strengthening healthcare systems throughout the Caribbean. Sonolala, TTT News.
In sports, we begin with football. High school football players who will graduate this year could get another chance to impress college scouts, as the Inter-Secondary Schools Sports Association, ISSA, is contemplating staging formal tryouts early next year. Earlier this week, ISSA announced plans to restart competitions later this month and also play the Ben Francis and Walker Cup competitions with the ISSA President's Cup, set to be played in January. And that's it for the news on PBCJ. Pleasant viewing.